Time once again for the Kauffman Corner podcast. David Lesky, Soren Petro with you as we talk some Royals baseball. Going to get into Jac Caglianone. Is he becoming a star? You might be surprised at how good some of the numbers are for Jac Caglianone already, even with his hot streak, moving him around in the lineup, moving him up, and he has responded. The Royals finally figured out the bats. They didn't win today, but they scored a lot of runs again. Salvador Perez breaks the Kauffman Stadium home run record. Why are the Royals not using the IL with some of their injuries? Why are they playing down a man? Bobby Witt Jr., what's the right way to go about handling his knee situation right now? Maybe some players are going to get called up to the big leagues, and definitely some that are going to get called up, at least moved up, I should say, in the minor leagues. We will talk about that. Might even get into the draft here on the Kauffman Corner podcast. Don't know if there's time. Right? Might be just too busy. It's coming up right now on the Kauffman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kauffman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kauffman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kauffman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Sunday evening. Happy Father's Day to all the dads that are out there, first of all. If you're a dad or if you've been a dad-like figure to someone in your life, and most men have, we wish you a happy Father's Day. So hopefully you had a great one. David, I hope you had a great Father's Day. A little rest, a little relaxation, and a little baseball, right? Ugly to start today as the Royals get down 9-2. They fight back. They make it close. They make it interesting. I don't know. Let's just say this. Taking the first two from the Cardinals in this weird Saturday off because of the World Cup series, taking the first two and then showing the kind of fight they did and putting up the runs they did, how much of a success? Obviously, they won the series. That's a success. How much of a success was it maybe beyond just this one series as far as at least getting the ship going back in the right direction after a rough stretch again?
Yeah, I mean, they look, this team is they're decimated by injuries right now. They were not good before they were decimated by injuries, so I want to make that clear. But they've fought back, and this is not the first time we've seen it. We saw it in that Astros game that Friday night that Avila got rocked in the first. They fought back and made it a game. They look. It's hard to get over the hump when your starting pitcher goes an inning and 2/3 and gives up 9 runs. I'll ask you this. I know how I feel. I'll ask you before I give my thoughts. But does it concern you less when it's a guy like Kolek, who you feel pretty good about 8 times out of 10, that he happened to give it up? Like Avila, you're concerned about because you don't know what he is. Kolek, I think we're starting to know what he is. Does that make you feel like this is more of an aberration? You don't care as much?
Wow, it's
not the right word, but you know what I mean.
No, I'm going to say no on Kolek because I just haven't seen enough yet to. I've kind of been waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, is this just because they haven't been taking him serious? He's a 28-year-old rookie. Teams are viewing him as a 4A player. We don't really have to try. And now he's put up enough of a body of work that they're like, okay, let's get into the video. What does he do? Let's try to find. Is he tipping anything? Let's really analyze this guy like he's a challenge. And I'm sure I'm putting too much into it. I think it probably is. Like, he's done enough that no, we don't panic, right? Like I'm not in a panic, but I nothing about the strikeouts per innings say that he should come up and dominate at the big league level.
Sure.
To a degree, which is what he had been doing. I mean, now he's had a couple of bad outings now this year. So, domination, no, not dominating anymore, but it's felt like he was a little bit out over his skis. Now, that could entirely be him. We've talked about it a lot. Brian Sweeney's a guy that I think can teach pitching and give guys new weapons, and that's really what the Rays do. I mean, I remember hearing, reading things from Jake Odorizzi, like, well, what was your success? He's like, well, it's when I got to the Rays, and they gave me this pitch, and they gave me that pitch, and, we perfected this. I think Brian Sweeney does it, so it's entirely possible that, he just makes everybody better. And I shouldn't worry about it, but I do worry a little bit. I'm happy to hear that you're not. At least I think I'm taking that right. You're not worrying about it.
It's one of the to me, it's an outing that you look at and you go, hey, until proven otherwise, I see it as a one-off because we haven't. I think we've seen enough of Stephen Kolek. Not to say I don't think he's a 1 or a 2 or even a 3 in all likelihood. I am a little bit encouraged in this to your point about adding the pitches that his slider has been a totally different pitch this year. So, look at the numbers from last year. He threw his slider and he got a 21.3% whiff rate. This year, now today he didn't get a whiff on it. So it's going to update. And I don't know the numbers yet because the sites don't update till tomorrow morning. But this year his slider has a 46% whiff rate. And so you feel like, okay, he's found that pitch that he can get, at least he has something he can get a swing and miss with, which he didn't have before. I mean, you look at those numbers last year, the whiff rates, 15.4, 13.1, 21.3, 19, 24.7, 18.4. None of those are good enough. 46.4, that's an elite number. And so I liked that jump that I saw from the slider. And at this point, how many starts has he made with the Royals? It's been 14, 15, whatever it is, plus a few with the Padres as well. I feel like you have a fairly steady back of the rotation starting pitcher. This doesn't move me yet. Now I could be wrong and I could say, hey, I'm in 6 weeks, I could look back and go, well, that should have moved me. But based on what we've seen, and I'm trying to get the number here, he's made this was his 14th start with the Royals. He had 14 starts with the Padres. It doesn't concern me all that much yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just wonder when we're going to be able to identify this is what he is. Everybody has a career year. Everybody has a career worst year, oftentimes tangled up with injuries. But still not sure. Like, okay, is this a building block guy? Is this guy definitely one of our starters? If I'm JJ Picoult, I'm asking myself, is this guy definitely one of our starters to where I don't need to be looking for a starting pitcher in trades and things like that? Like, I'm not there yet where I say, okay, this is it. This is a guy that for the next 5 years is either going to be starting for this team or is going to be traded to somebody else and starting for that team. I'm not quite there yet. And this obviously didn't help me get there.
No, for sure not. And I'll put it a different way. If I told you, I hate this game, but I'm going to do it anyway. If I told you the Royals scored 10 runs and Stephen Kolek pitched, what are your thoughts? They won, right? I mean, like that's what I would have thought coming into the day. So, that's why to me it's like, all right, you know what? I'm willing to say I don't care about this start. I'm willing to say it's an aberration. Let's focus on the positive from this one, because we've seen so much positive from Stephen Kolek that it's to me it's a one-off. But again, if it becomes a 2-off or a 3-off, I'm going to feel stupid for saying that. We'll find out.
By the way, since it's Father's Day, return to the little one, David. Last week we had an unexpected guest, an unexpected visitor.
That was stressful, let me tell you.
We don't think so. We're not planning on it, but you never know.
3.5, and she does whatever she wants, though. So we'll see.
Yeah, you never know. All right, let's talk a little bit about Jac Caglianone. 2 home runs today. Is he becoming a star? Kid Dynamite put this up there. Slash line over the last 50 games: 309, 387, 545. Looking awful Cobra-like. Dave Parker, the Cobra, is who he's referencing there. It's feeling real good. And I really like him standing over at first base. And I know you're going to give some outfielder numbers here in a minute to kind of quantify how good he's been. But yeah, this is exciting watching him do what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, month of June, I wrote this down, 378. This is including today. 378, 468, 742 with 7 homers, 16 RBIs, 17 runs, 11.6% walk rate. I mean, these are, I go back to 2024 when Bobby had that July, and I think we talked about it on the show. We weren't doing the podcast. I wasn't doing the podcast with you yet. that like you think about, you see all these guys having monster months and you go, well, when are the Royals going to have a monster month? And they had one. Bobby had that monster month. This is another one. I mean, this is a monster month, and I haven't looked at the other players to see, are we looking at a player of the month? Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't totally looked yet, but these are legitimate superstar numbers that he's starting to put up, and the plate appearances are better. He still chases. He's always going to chase. I don't think that there's ever like, I don't think there's ever going to be a season where you look up and Caglianone has a 23% chase rate. It's just probably not going to happen. So that is what it is. But the plate appearances have gotten so much better. He's finally accessed that power. We talked about it like maybe a month ago, and I remember saying he's going up the middle. He's hitting the ball to opposite field. It feels like he's letting the ball travel. I think the power will come because it's almost like he's gone back to square one as a hitter, to not rebuild his swing, but just kind of get back into the basics. Well, the power's come. I mean, we've seen it. 4 home runs in this series. Like I said, 7 home runs in June. It's very impressive what he's done. And, you know, I was at the show. I mentioned Bobby Witt needs a second in command, and like they've finally got one. I feel like at least he's trending that direction. And the other thing, and this is bigger than anything to me, he slumped. So he was the savior, right? He had that great road trip and then the great series against Texas, and that's all well and good. But for the next 5 games, he was 3 for 19, and then he was 1 for 5. So I guess it was I'm looking right now. It was the next 6 games. That's right. He was 4 for 24 with a double and 10 strikeouts. And you think, okay, well, I guess what's done is done. And then he comes back and has this series where he's got 5 hits, 4 home runs. What did he end up having? 4 walks? No, just 2 walks today. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line. 2 walks today. He's bounced back from a slump, which that the Royals made no. They were very clear about that the slump was concerning to them last year, and he didn't bounce back very well, and he's bounced back. So that's huge to me.
Yeah, I think that's big. And I think the other thing is, like, I don't know that he is going to ever walk enough. Not that he's doing better at that, but I don't know that his plate discipline is ever going to be. I don't know that he's slumped as much as he's just a streak hitter. Like that,
and you're right. That could be,
or what was the Kendrys Morales? Kendrys Morales could carry a team for a weekend, and then you'd be like, is he even on the team for 5 days? And then then he'd have 3 monster games in a row, and he'd be the reason you won 2 of them. And, that may just be who Jac Caglianone is.
Which I think that's okay, because the talent is so immense when he does have those games that it almost makes up, for double. like every 2 bad games where he does like today's game, if he goes 0 for 4 tomorrow, who cares? I mean, you care, but like it's just part of the experience. And I'll be honest, I didn't think we were going to get there with him. I maybe not ever, but not this year, because what we saw last year was so bad. It wasn't just like, oh, this guy struggled. Guys, that was more than struggling. And I don't know. I love to see it. I'm very happy to so far have been proven very wrong.
On the season, he's just really taken a big step forward. And I think that we always talk about, can you squint and see it? We haven't had to do that for a while because the Royals went to the playoffs 2 years ago and were, in the hunt. We're back to squinting. I don't think you have to squint to see it anymore. Because Carter Jensen homers today as well. He is, they threw him up there as his on-base percentage was crashing to a season low, and he has done a nice job of getting on base. And so we've talked about it many times during the course of this year. When those 2 are hitting and everybody else is healthy, we'll get to that part in a minute. But when those 2 are hitting, you start to go, okay, yeah, this is a real lineup. Yeah, like this is – because if you have healthy Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, and then Carter Jensen and Jac Caglianone are joining them as real positive plus offensive players, then your lineup goes 5 deep, right? Yeah. And then if you can get a good platoon for a 6th, okay, we'll piece together 7, 8, 9. But, I mean, I think you really need at least 5, if not 6 good hitters in the lineup. And you can see that occurring now, and they're really probably one legit bat. Like I said, I think you can platoon a couple of spots and try to make one good player, but you probably need they probably need one more guy. If Caglianone and Carter Jensen are going to be the players we think they can be, they need one more bat, and then that lineup gets long enough to really do some damage.
Yeah, you're probably right. And where there's struggles for the Royals, I think if you're evaluating as JJ Piccolo or whoever, it's part of the problem is that Michael Massey has been a big part of the solution. And do you trust Massey to stay healthy, to stay hot? It's at this point, it's been a long time for him that he's been hitting well. I mean, his overall numbers are
well, and if those other guys, not to interrupt you, I'll just be brief here, but if those other guys are doing what they're doing, you're not asking Massey to hit 4 or 5, right?
Right.
He can go back
typically.
If he's a 285 on base guy, but he's going to hit 24 home runs at second base, and he's going to have a 750 OPS, largely off his slug, but you're asking him to hit 7, 8, or 9. Okay.
And play really good defense, obviously, which, I mean, I think that, we always look at a lineup in terms of their offensive numbers, fair, but also you got to play defense too. I mean, we've seen what a bad defensive team looks like, and it's kind of the reason why you look at Kyle Isbell and you think, oh, I don't mind him in the 9 spot because he plays good defense and he's just good enough. But Massey's better than that. The problem with Massey, it's more health to me than anything, because you can't go into a season saying, oh, Michael Massey's our second baseman, because he's going to get hurt at some point. And so that's an issue. But I agree. I think that you look at this lineup and you feel like they are one legitimate bat away. And Jensen and Caglianone both combined will go a long way toward what does that bat have to be? Like, does it have to be a guy who can hit? I mean, you'd love to have a guy who will hit fourth or fifth in a lineup, but could it be a guy who hits sixth? Could it be somebody who can slot behind what they currently have? I tend to think it still needs to be a middle of the order bat, or a legitimate top of the order bat if they want to go that route. But if you've got Jensen, Witt, and Caglianone all hitting like middle of the order hitters, even if they're 1, 2, 3, you don't have to get that guy who can hit you 40 home runs. You always want it, but it could be somebody who just lengthens the lineup.
So they end up being who we think they're going to be. Build me the batting order.
I mean, right now it's got to be Jensen 1, Witt 2, Caglianone 3, right? I mean, that seems to make the most sense. And Jensen seems to like hitting leadoff. And if you say, well, see, this gets into the positional question. This is a big question. But if Vinny is on the team, you got Vinny 5. I think you do need a number 4 hitter. Garcia can hit 6. I love Garcia 6.
Yeah, I do too.
I love that. I don't mind him 4th if you've got power behind him, because it almost like resets that leadoff spot a little bit. It's more of a modern lineup, obviously, but I mean, if you can hit Michael Garcia 6th, good. I don't, and Garcia 6, Massey 7, and you find a guy to hit 4th, and Salvi 8, or whatever. The problem is, if Caglianone is not playing right field, there's not a place for Jensen and Salvi in the same lineup. So they're going to have some work to do this offseason to figure this out, or just say Caglianone's in right field, which he's been. The defensive numbers have not been good. I don't think anybody can argue that he hasn't gotten better out there and has been an asset in some ways with his arm, obviously, and not a problem in other ways.
When I look at the lack of right-handed power to finish, to make this lineup ideal, I mean, it's where I think we're at a point where you have to make a trade. I mean, like it's you have 2 first basemen, you have 2 catchers with another catcher on the way. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Multiple catchers on the way.
Catchers on the way.
Yeah.
So I like at some point they've got to make an old school baseball trade. And if we're at a point that nobody does anything but minor leaguers for big leaguers and big leaguers for minor leaguers, then fine. Vinny Pasquantino goes to help stock your system in the future. I mean, I don't with his injury history, Jac Caglianone is the guy you're keeping, right? And just the controllable years.
I think so. And the upside too. I mean, Vinny's upside is what it is. Caglianone's upside is considerably higher.
Are we at a point, and I don't know that this kind of trade is the trade that would happen at a trade deadline. It's more likely to happen in the offseason, but they cannot come back with all four of Jac Caglianone, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, and Carter Jensen. All four of those guys cannot be on this team. And I don't see how Carter Jensen and Jac Caglianone are the guys who would be the odd ones out. But there's no, you can't. I lost my mind the other day when Salvador Perez was playing first base and Caglianone was in the outfield.
I know. And Salvi's not going anywhere. So you mentioned four guys. there's only one guy left. I mean, that's
well, and Vinny's the heart and soul of the team. I mean, I don't know. The other answer is tell Salvi he's not playing.
Right. And if you've got him as a bat on the bench who catches 2 days a week, DH is 1 and pinch hits 3, that strengthens your bench in a lot of ways. You're also, I mean, this gets into a much bigger picture. We this is probably an off-season conversation to have here, but what are you doing to his Hall of Fame chances? Do you care? Because I still think he needs to get to 350 home runs. I think that's the number that gets him in. He might get it otherwise, but if he's only playing, if he gets 350 plate appearances instead of 600, you're messing around with that a little bit too, which I mean, you're trying to win. You're not trying to get a guy into the Hall of Fame, but that also plays a role, I think.
Yeah. Do you try to lock Jac Caglianone up right now? Should they be talking contract at the end of this year? In a couple of years of free agency?
Probably. The way that baseball economics work and the way that young players and teams approach young players, I think the answer is probably. I have not looked yet. I don't know what the comp is there. I think it would be a very interesting conversation because, let's go back. People complain that I say this, but the Royals were very clear that he had issues mentally. He's been very clear that he had issues mentally. If you believe he's over that, but he, maybe he signs for a little bit less because he goes, look, I believe in myself, but also I've had issues before. But then it goes back to your point. If he signs that contract, do you want to sign that contract? So, I mean, but I do think with the way that the game is played, the way that economics are today, yeah, I think you probably do have to approach that, which is a shocking thing. I never thought I'd say that this year.
Yeah, no, but I think the way he, if he's going to hit like this the rest of the way and you're looking at a well over 800 OPS guy, then yeah, I think that's where we're at. I think we're talking about, trying to get him locked up.
You're talking about a legitimate, earlier in the year, you said, do you believe in Caglianone? I said, yes, I believe in him as a big league regular. I'm starting to believe in him as way more than that. And to your point about, okay, do you trade if Vinny Pasquantino needs to go for prospects, like the Diamondbacks have been terrible at first base, figure something out there, go to the Diamondbacks, sign Taylor Ward, done. I feel like your offense is in great shape. And I think that's a possibility, like to sign Taylor Ward at least. So, playing in free agency is always risky, but it's not hard to see how this lineup can be really good next year.
Yeah.
People scoff at that.
Yeah. Overall, they're hitting better. We'll talk about that. Alex Zumwalt, his role in it. We'll do it after you hear from Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine-in, carry-out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. I think we're left to think, and we'll get more into the injuries in a minute, that Bobby Witt Jr. is probably going to be okay because they're not putting him on the IL, at least to this point. But we'll see what happens if he is out for a pronounced period of time and what the effect is of Vinny Pasquantino being out. But overall, they're scoring more runs. They're starting to hit. Where do we sit on, like, if they're going to hit the rest of the way, it's not just like, oh, we're all set. This will be the second year in a row that they could not hit to get things going. Like, where are they? This is like when you don't make changes. Okay, it got better. Did it get better in spite of or because of? And
yeah,
where do you sit right now on the way they're hitting as a team and what Alex Zumwalt's position is within that?
Well, I mean, June's been really good for them. Obviously, 286, 355, 458. They've scored almost 6 runs per game. 9.1% walk rate, 18.8% strikeout rate. They've hit for power. They've stolen bases. Like, they're doing everything offensively right now. And it's funny because I remember 3 weeks ago we were on and there were many comments. They're still last in baseball in runs scored. They're still last in baseball in runs scored. They had 221 runs scored when we recorded. We did our podcast on May 31st. They have 331 runs now. They are 17th in baseball. They were dead last 3 weeks ago and are 17th right now. So it's been a really nice turnaround. What I don't know, and I'm just going to throw out there, we talked about this early in the year. We talked about the Blue Jays as a comp of the Royals last season, where they got a little bit of a new philosophy, and it took about 2 months. And 2 months in, they started hitting, and they never stopped hitting. Now, the downside of that is the Blue Jays, if you go by weighted runs created plus, at least the Blue Jays are behind the Royals right now. So was it a 1 year fluke? Is it the type of, is the Royals and the Blue Jays and the Brewers to lesser extent, although they keep doing it, but is it the type of offense that just goes through ebbs and flows and the highs look great and the lows look terrible? I don't know. I don't know that answer, but I will tell you what's encouraging to me, at least, is who's doing it. I mentioned Caglianone. Bobby Witt's had a nice June, assuming he gets back on the field. Massey's had a nice June. Jensen's been really good June. 284, 324, 537 for Jensen. Like, it's not Starling Marte going 17 for 37 and thinking, oh, the offense is fixed. It's guys who can actually be a part of that future. And, I think that's encouraging. But we've seen them. The upside is this is great what we're watching right now offensively. The downside is it was great for like a month between like late April to mid-May, like 3 weeks, late April to mid-May, and they fell into another malaise. So they're going to need to keep this up, but it is encouraging that the guys who are helping it are the ones who you expect to be the leaders if they're going to be good in the future.
Yeah. It's so hard because, like, yeah, they're hitting now. See, Alex is part of the solution. Like, what would you do if they come back and they make no changes to the hitting coaching department and you come back and you lay an egg to start next year?
Look, if that happens,
if I were John Sherman, I would fire whoever stood in front of Alex Zumwalt.
That's what I was going to say. I would, if that happens, and we're doing this podcast on May 15th or whatever date it would be. And they're 28th in runs scored and whatever. And yeah, if I'm John Sherman, if it was Matt Quatrero, he's gone. I don't care if it's the first year of your contract extension. If it's JJ Piccolo, you're gone. Whoever is the one who said, no, we're not making a change, they have to be 100% right at this point, because they should have, I will stand by, I've said this before, they should have made a full change last season. I understood the rationale. I'm like willing to see if it worked because there's no other option. It's not like we have a say in this, but they needed to be right, and they weren't right for most of the first 2 months of the season. I would still make a change. And I would say, look, if things picked up, it's because of the new voices, not because of the old voice. But if they didn't make a change and they started slow again, more heads than Alex Zumwalt would have to roll, in my opinion.
Yeah. And is it just that they finally feel like there's no pressure? Like the season is lost, and so now all of a sudden the bats they're not pressing. Then that's still a scary thing as well, because it means next year when you start the year with expectations, you're going to feel the pressure.
Well, right, because if they hit the rest of the year, and it's big if at this point, but if they hit the rest of the year and they get to 77, 85 or whatever, they're going to be a really popular pick to make the playoffs again, because they started slow but picked it up and all this and blah blah blah. Pressure. So that's a concern too. But I don't know. And we'll have to, again, we don't have any control over it, but it's, I don't know. I guess the other thing is I need to see more than 3 weeks of it. It's got to get to the All-Star break, to the deadline, maybe the rest of the season, before I feel really good about it. But it's so tough too, because like it was not just us. It was Jeff Passan. It was Eno Saris. It was these guys who are Mike Petriello, guys who are very smart and make us feel very silly sometimes when we read their analysis. I don't know about you. I'm sure I do. I'm like, I'm not in their league, and they all said this offense was going to be good. And so your preconceived notion when it starts to get, when they do what you thought they were going to do, your first thought is, oh, they're good. They're fine. This is what we expected. Good and bad, I guess. But fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 43 times. I'm going to hold off for a little bit longer.
Yeah. By the way, we're 3 games away from the halfway mark. Right. So you're going to be able to figure out some numbers by doubling up. And at the end of the year for it cannot be that we were good in the second half or the second 2/3 of the year, but we still finished, 18th in baseball. Unacceptable.
Right.
The whole year, you dug your grave by not hitting early. And you had other problems as well, as we know. That was definitely part of it also. But that will be, you're just not going to be able to be like, no, we're good. See, we got it all figured out. Like we've done that 2 years in a row now. Okay. So you got to figure it all out for all 162.
I'm what I think will happen. Maybe it's wish casting here. I think that even if they finish off, even if they keep this up the rest of the year, again, I'm not expecting that. I think all this does is give Zumwalt an opportunity to say, I'm stepping back, instead of we're making you step back or leaving or whatever. So I will still say, I think there's going to be a different person in charge of hitting. But if there's not, they better be right, or else they're going to lose their job too.
Yeah, like if it's Matt Cotrero, that's my guy, then Cotrero's going to lose his job. If it's JJ Piccolo, say no, he's been with us forever, we're going to ride or die with him, then you're going to probably go down.
Yeah,
I mean this is big league baseball here. I mean, it's results only. Salvador Perez breaks the Kauffman Stadium home run record. What's that mean for you?
It's just really cool. Salvi is. He's the Royals, right? Like we can bitch and moan about him, about how it takes him an hour and a half to get from first to third. And I do, trust me, he doesn't, his blocking isn't as good as it once was.
He's a creative slider. We saw that today.
That's the second one this year. The one in Seattle, and then that one. He's agile. He's an agile big man. And I'm not saying agile for a big man. He's an agile big man. But look, this is a career. We're getting to the point, and it was where we were with George Brett in the early 90s of these. Maybe he's not. Brett's a little different because he didn't really slow down until really ever. But Salvi, they're almost like these like career awards that are coming. That you hit a home run, now you're the Kauffman Stadium leader. It's for a day. It's fine that you're not what you were. It's just. We're going to celebrate you. You're the World Series MVP. You're the guy who stayed. You're all this. And I don't know. I'm bummed that I wasn't there because it was such a cool moment. And I'm looking forward to him hitting number 318. He's
what, 5 away now?
5 away from that. Yeah. And we with Salvi, that could be the end of this upcoming week, or it could be like August 5th. We don't know.
Yeah.
So, well, he's going to get hot and hit some home runs at some point. I mean, he had 6 home runs over a month period earlier this year. It's what he does. I don't know that he's going to get hot and hit 350 for a week, but he'll hit some home runs and he'll get there, and that'll be cool too. And they're going to retire his number. He's an all-time great Royal. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it is. The injuries, we mentioned Bobby Witt Jr. not being on the IL. This is something what do you make of how they're are or are not using the IL when it comes to some of the guys being down?
I would say 95% of what the Royals do, whether I agree or disagree, I'm like, I get it. I see what you're doing. I understand the thought process. Michael Garcia didn't play for 6 days? It's a 10-day IL.
Yeah.
You're playing shorthanded. And then, so Wick gets hurt. What day was that? Was that Thursday that he left? Yeah, it was Thursday. Oh. He didn't play Friday. They didn't play Saturday. Didn't play today. But Friday, Garcia wasn't available yet either. You're playing with a 2-man bench because you refuse to use the IL again. I don't understand. Look, I get it. I get it more with Witt because he is the superstar of superstars on this team, right? He's the only guy. But just use the IL. Matt Strahm, look, if he's not hurt, then he needs to retire. Everything about what's going on with Matt Strahm is that he's struggling to land his leg. From what I can tell, the pitches are flat. He can't command it. The wild pitches today, this looks like a guy whose knee is still hurting him. Just keep him on the IL. It's not helping anything. I don't get this at all.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, who's going to come up if you IL Bobby?
And I think that's
the answer. We know what the answer is. The answer is
Rojas
would come up and play third, and Garcia would play short. But I mean, I think they're feeling like, well, is that really an upgrade? I don't know. It is kind of puzzling because they seem to, manage day by day. And even like when their starters are getting roughed around, they don't go to the quick hook. They still try to get 3-4 innings out of the guy. Everything seems to be about the marathon, which I'm fine. You have your philosophy, stick to it. But then, so go ahead so if a guy's healthy for 3 days on the IL, aren't we playing for the marathon? Well, then you at least get to make sure that he's okay. And usually guys are coming back when it's like, okay, you can't do any more damage to it. But are they really 100%? So like, what is the big deal if you have a few days off? And at this point now, especially now, I know what they're going to say. Well, we're only 6.5 out in the wild card. Okay.
I don't care.
But
I thought
you're only half a game in front of last place in the American League. Okay. You're a lot closer to that than you are the wild card. Why not go ahead and see what you got in anybody at the big league level?
Right. And look, Josh Rojas is not exciting at all, but also, and I assume that they're saying that if Witt comes back tomorrow, which by the way, they're playing on turf for the next 3 days with a knee injury. Don't love that. Yeah. They have dirt on the infield. So maybe it's not as, I don't know. I don't know enough to know if that's stupid, but it feels silly at least. But like, are you risking Witt long term? I don't know that answer. Again, I don't know enough medically, but it just, in a season where you're 14 games under 500, it doesn't make sense to me.
They're down Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Jonathan India, Kyle Isbell, 4 frontline players. Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, their 2 biggest ceiling pitchers for starters. Ryan Bergert, their 6th starter, basically, down in the minor leagues. And Nick Mears and Carlos Estevez in the bullpen. And as you pointed out, Matt Strahm doesn't look like he's healthy.
Yeah. And I mean,
and Urseg stinks.
I was going to say, would it surprise you if we found out Urseg's hurt too?
No.
I mean, he very well could just be done. Relievers have short shelf lives and all that. It's possible. But these guys are a couple of them are, I think Matt Strahm is clearly still hurting. And I think he'd probably tell you if you really asked him, hey, how's get him good and drunk. How's your knee feel? Not good. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I understand. I get it. Like I said, I get it with Witt, because if he can come back in 4 days, you want him to come back in 4 days and you deal with it. there's nobody else. I mean, Caglianone's trying to turn into that, but there's nobody else on this team that you go, look, if we can have him back before 10 days, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to get him back early. I don't care. I don't care if Michael Garcia is out for 3 more days. It doesn't bother me at all. And again, with the record, it doesn't bother me if Witt's out for 3 more days either.
Yeah.
I talked about Salvy's Hall of Fame. Yeah, it gives him 3 fewer days to get a few hits to get to 3,000 in 20 years, but you can't worry about that right now either.
The Drake, who works with me at 810, sends over. He covers the clubhouse on Sundays when they're home, and he sent back the sound. And I was listening to Carter Jensen, and Carter Jensen said, "Well, we fought back today. That's big, and we won the series, and that's what we got to do is just keep stacking series wins." And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's what you say, but I'm like, is he buying that? Is he still believing that?
I would love to hear how like the tone in his voice was this, and we have to keep.
Well, he
stacking.
had the appropriate. He had the appropriate. We lost tone to his voice.
Yeah.
And he figured that part out.
Right. I thought I was listening to Mike Farron on MLB Network Radio. I love Mike. He's a great guy too, and he made a really good point. Somebody called about the Orioles and was saying, should the Orioles buy? They're only 3 out. And he's like, yeah, they're 6 under 500 though. And the Royals are obviously far more than 6 under 500. And the question is, okay, yes, you're close enough games back wise, but what are the odds that a team that's currently 14 games under 500 can go 18 games over 500 to get to 83 wins? At this point, it seems unlikely that a team that has done this is able to even do that. And I think that's the way the Royals have to feel and handle their injuries properly that way. And look, if I'm on the team, I don't want them to feel that way. I want them to say, yes, if we win every series, I don't even know what it would. I think they'd probably finish around 500. They need to win, they do more than win every series, but I want them to have that mindset of, yes, we are trying to win every game, because they should have that mindset. They're on the field, but the front office, the fans, there needs to be a realistic thought too. And some of that includes putting Bobby Witt on the IL.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, we want to get into some of the players that are going to move around, maybe get a little bit on the draft. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Anyone you want to see, at the big league level? We're going to talk about, the major moves are probably going to come out of the minor leagues, but is there anyone, would you like to see Cam Meisner and John Rave just get every day at bats? I mean, Josh Rojas. I mean, is there anybody up at AAA that you're like, I'd like to see this person get an extended tryout and let's see what they've got?
I mean, I want to see Meisner and I want to see Rave and probably Meisner. Well, it's funny because my answer 3 or 4 days ago, or maybe a week ago, is probably Meisner over Rave because we saw Rave
last year.
Right. Meisner might be showing why he's 28 and hasn't been able to stick. I mean, a couple bad base running decisions. He dropped that fly ball in his first or second game. Today, he dove for a ball that was a big mistake. not worth the risk, in my opinion. Ended up a triple, RBI triple. I'm kind of seeing why he was
Right.
readily available. And that's fine. Like, everybody says, where's our Ryan O'Hearn? Well, you don't find that guy without picking up somebody else's scrap, because the Orioles picked up Ryan O'Hearn, and it was, well, I sort of kind of understand why Ryan O'Hearn hasn't been, all that. So you got to give it a shot. But I do want to see John Rave. I think that I'm going to say right now, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think he's good enough, honestly. I mean, if we're putting opinions out there, but he takes pitches, he makes contact, he plays solid defense. He's got a little pop. Do I think he can hit second on a playoff team? No, but if he's your fourth or fifth outfielder, maybe. I mean, maybe that's a guy. Maybe there's a career year in there. There's no reason to not give him some time. I'm fine with him playing Lane Thomas, riding a hot streak, see how much more value he can accrue for a trade. But let's give John Rave some time. Let's see what he can do. The opportunity that comes from sucking is that you can do that, and which you couldn't do before. And you'd rather not, but if you don't take advantage of that, then you're failing again. So I'd like to see it.
When you look at AAA, you're just reminded how they're just not quite ready. Like there just isn't the depth that you need to be able to, like they've had more injuries than their share. If everybody came back, like now, I don't think Cole Reagans is coming back, right? Like I don't know if Chris Bubich is going to come back, but if everybody came back and was playing at their level, okay, then it maybe be kind of a normal injury year. But it feels like it's going to be heavier injury than normal. But they don't have the kind of pieces to put in to keep it going.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I mean, sorry, one more thing. Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino just being no-shows to start was just a killer.
Well, that was I looked up today. The Royals are 20-12 when they score 5 or more runs in a game, which is, I believe this. I didn't see. I forgot how close the Rockies were. They were 30th. The Royals were 29th. I think the Royals are still 29th even after losing today. But
29th
in winning percentage when they score 5 or more runs.
Okay.
But if last year they were like 800 winning percentage, they'd have 5 more wins with last year's winning percentage at 5 or more runs. And by the way, 32 times is like 15th in baseball. So they're, but you're right. Perez and Vinny just completely skipping April was what may end up being the difference.
And by the way, 5 more wins would put you at 37 and 41.
Oh, no, sorry, it's 6 more wins. They'd have 26 wins in those 32 games. So they'd be 38 and 40.
So they'd have 6 more wins. So they'd be 38 and 40, which right now would put them 1/2 game out of the wild card.
And 2 games under, you're like, okay, that team can go on a 10 games over run.
Yeah.
14 games under, that team cannot go on that run.
14, and again, Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Jonathan India, Kyle Isbell, Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, Ryan Bergert, Nick Mears, Carlos Estevez, all out.
Yeah. How? I don't see it. One other guy I forgot to mention, Matthew Lugo. They picked him up. He has been outstanding in Omaha. Right-handed bat. I don't know if he's any more than a platoon bat, but they're going to have 2. I think they're going to have 2 platoon bat spots available with Thomas and Marte out. Let's see it. I don't know if he's going to do it, but let's see it.
Yeah. How about some of the other guys that you'd like to see getting promoted? Let's start with Kendry Churio, who did get promoted and then struck out 10 while giving up 7, which is interesting. I'm sure he'll settle down and be fine. But
didn't walk anybody either.
Yeah, no walks, 7 hits, 4 2/3, 7 runs, 10 Ks. So I think he's going to be fine. The swing and miss there makes me think like, yeah, bad day, but he's still got 4 innings and he struck out 10. But you'd said all along you thought they would get Churio up with Shields and then start advancing them together. You think Shields is going to get a push before, or do you think that they'll be together there for another month or 2 and then end of the year go on up to AA?
Yeah, I think I think it was possible. If you asked me a couple months ago, is Shields going to move up quickly? Maybe. He's given up some runs. He's got 2 straight 10 strikeout games in high A. So 20 strikeouts and 1 walk in his last 2 games. He's given up, I mean, it hasn't been bad. 5 runs in 10 2/3 innings, 4 earned. Not great, not bad. He gave up 8 the start before that, 4 earned, 3 and 2 earned the start before that, 6 shutout, but then the start before that was 3 innings, 6 earned. So he's run into some issues that he didn't really see last year. So I think at this point, unless he goes on a run, unless he, if the strikeouts start to become production, maybe he gets up earlier. But I do think those guys are kind of hand in hand now, which is it's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, if they're there at that level for the rest of the year, I mean, Kendrick Churio, it's basically a half and half for him.
Right.
And if Shields needs this, and Kendrick Churio is the better prospect. So, I mean, it's not probably, it's not that big a deal if Kendrick Churio goes by David Shields and gets there first.
No, but they're both teenagers in high A. I mean, that's you love to see that. That's really impressive for them. Hopefully they keep striking out 10 every game and force the hand. And if they both need to be up in AA in 2 months, great. And if not, that's okay too, because they're still both teenagers.
Yeah. So what are some of the other players you're looking to move?
There's, you look at Northwest Arkansas.
Looking to move up, I should say, not move as
yeah. Looking at Northwest Arkansas, Spencer Nivens had a pretty much lost season last year. He got hurt and then he struggled and wasn't very good. I'll go back to 24. He finished so strong that you thought, okay, this guy's ready to rock. He wasn't, but he's been back from injury this year again, really good in AA. I'd like to see him get to AAA. We talk about age. He's 24 years old, right? Like that's old enough that let's challenge him. Let's see if that level challenges him, because you also have to figure out what is coming. Like, do you want to give Taylor Ward a 5-year deal, or do you want to, I don't even know who else is out there, or do you want to give somebody else a 2-year deal because you feel like Spencer Nivens is close? And you don't know if he's close until you see what he can do at the next level. So he's a guy I'm really interested in. Also vaguely local, went to Missouri State, born in Columbia. So that's another local guy. They seem to be doing a lot of that. Another guy I really want to see, Derlin Figueroa, who is in Quad Cities right now. He has been really good this season. He came over in the Ryan Yarbrough deal back, what was that, 2023, I guess. And somebody said at the time to me, look, this guy could be Yordan Alvarez light in terms of the return for a middle reliever like the Astros got. Not that he's that player, but he's hit really well this year. I mean, he's coming into today. I didn't see what he did today, but 277, 366, 564. He's got 28 extra base hits. He's fairly athletic. I'd like to see him get the bump because he's been at high A for a while now, because he was there last year too. And then I think you also, looking at Quad Cities, you got the 2 catchers. You got Blake Mitchell and Ramon Ramirez. And Mitchell's interesting because it's the low average, but the high OBP, lots of power. Ramirez is the more complete hitter. I think you've got to start moving one of those guys. I don't know which one, but one of them I think has to move up.
Yeah. When is, I mean, Blake Mitchell's batting average, is it ever an issue?
There is one thing that I heard, and I'm not sure if I buy it. I'm still batting it around in my head that we're not going to know until he gets better pitches, until he faces better pitchers. And I understand the logic, but I feel like that's an excuse also. And to be fair, this is not from a Royals person. This is just a scout that I talked to, who I talked to. So why he wouldn't make an excuse for a Royal necessarily, although those guys like their prospects and they like to keep them, so maybe it's a personal excuse. I don't know. So I don't know if I buy it or not, but I'd be curious at least. He doesn't get a lot of strikes. He takes a lot of pitches. He gets the 2 strikes. He's young. He maybe swings and misses because he wants to swing the bat. Again, I'm iffy on it, but it's interesting. It's at least an interesting theory. So I'd be willing to see it. But also, like Ramon Ramirez, he can hit. That dude's, I don't know if he's a catcher, but he can hit. And he's a right-handed bat, which there are so few of those. And that's not why you'd call somebody up, but if he can get to the big leagues, that would be nice too.
Yeah. Well, if they can get, if at the end of the year we're talking about a bunch of these guys being in Double-A, then
Yeah, you feel pretty good.
Then they're starting to be on the radar screen. But I still don't see anybody who's an everyday outfielder yet. Like all the guys you named, what I see are intriguing guy who could be part of the equation, but not here's our left fielder. Here's our right. Yeah. Like there's no this guy, and I don't mean Alex Gordon as the number 2 overall pick and this giant prospect. I mean what Alex Gordon ended up being, which was a good Royals Hall of Fame player. I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame player for the Royals if they don't win. Right.
That's an interesting question. I don't know either. I think probably, but yeah, that's a good question.
I think it's right there. Well, partially if they don't win, I don't think he stays around. I don't think he's here. They're not giving him the contract and he moves on. So it's not necessarily about the quality of numbers as much as I just think that it would have played out differently. But, there's no Alex Gordon. What Alex Gordon ended up being. There's no one that you're like, that could be Jermaine Dye, or that could be like, there's no one that looks like a legit outfielder. There's somebody may be there, but they're not showing it right now with their numbers.
They have to develop into that because they're not there yet. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you. 10
years from now, we might look back and go like, yes, John Rave, look at it. He had 9 years in the big leagues, and he was a legit. Well, he has not shown it to this point, and there's no one that I look at in the minor leagues. There's some interesting numbers, and you look at it, you go, oh, that's pretty good. And then you look at his age, and you go, well, he ought to be.
Oh, he's 33 in low A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that changes things up. Let's leave with this. Anyone you're intrigued by at pick number 6?
There's
a little over a week away.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
Or what? Probably a couple weeks away. The 11th.
2 weeks from yesterday. Yeah. I will say Cameron Flukie is a pitcher, Coastal Carolina, who I think if he didn't get hurt, if you asked me 2 months ago before his injury, who are the Royals picking, I would have said Flukie. I don't know that they are anymore, and I don't think he's going to be there for their next pick at 30, I think it is. But the names you hear Jackson Flora a lot. He's a pitcher out of UC Santa Barbara, power pitcher. He's interesting. Eric Booth Jr. is a high school outfielder. You can question whether you like high school outfielders or not, but athletic, power, play center field. He can hit. There are risks, obviously. Drew Burris is an outfielder from Georgia Tech who can play center field, hit for power. He's 5'9" and probably not that tall, which there's not a great history with those short guys. There's some. Could he be the outlier? Maybe. So that's a tough one. Gio Rojas is the guy I don't like. Lefty pitcher. He throws hard. High school lefty. It wouldn't be a crazy overdraft, but I'd really prefer not that. But yeah, I think that they're going to have, and look, I forgot, I'm blanking on his name, the UCLA shortstop. He's not going to be there. Von Lackey's not going to be there. Some of these guys who they're going to go top 2 or 3 regardless, but the Royals are going to have their pick. And I don't think I think if they get this wrong, it will haunt them for a long time.
Jacob Lombard. I was looking up who Keith Law.
He's a guy. I keep seeing him going 4 or 5 in mocks. Which what is a mock draft? And I don't know. Feels like he's not going to be there. To me, huge upside. I think he's George Lombard's brother, the Yankees prospect. But there's risk there too. So there's a lot of any of those high school players, there's risk, obviously, because there's just so much more development to go on. But that's also the Brian Bridges thing. He's liked the high school guys in the past. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will. We'll see. It's not far away. Listen, you can support the Kauffman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors, Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Did you know that for more than 30 years, they've been solving parking lot problems? That's right. They're Kansas City's best, locally owned and operated. It's Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com and from our friends at Italian Delight, first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. You can stop in and say hello to our buddy Renee. In fact, he was in in the chat room earlier tonight, just a few minutes east of Kansas Speedway, 8145 State Ave, lunch specials. They got them starting at under $10. Go see the great staff there at Italian Delight, locally owned and operated. You can order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kauffman Corner podcast.